What is happening, y'all? Welcome to the Mission Ready Men briefing right here on the SHR Media Network, where we are training up bold warriors, not mealy-mouthed weaklings. Today is Tuesday, October 7th, solemn day for most of us in the year of our Lord 2025. And this is a show where Christian men come to get equipped to stand firm, speak truth, and fight back against a culture that is trying to steal your faith, your family, and your freedom. And the battle that we're in is not just political, it is spiritual. That should be evident in the past, 2-3 years, if not longer. And this battle does not take a day off. It is perpetual. So we're done pulling punches. Absolutely done pulling punches. The gloves are off and we're getting after it. So be sure to follow us at Mission Ready Men on all the socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Getter, Truth Social. And be sure to also subscribe to our Rumble and YouTube channels. And if you want to show them that you are in this fight, be sure to grab your gear at missionreadymen.com, click Shop 7 Armors, and check out all of our great designs over there. All right, business is done. It's go time. Now, as I mentioned earlier, today marks the second anniversary of the attacks in Israel on October 7th. And it's a sad day. It really is, because it is a day that Israel was brutally attacked, and many in the world just seem to, well, some have even blamed Israel for the attack themselves. Zohran Mamdani, I know that should come as no surprise. He blamed Israel in his post where he acknowledged the anniversary. It really should come as no surprise coming from him, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But what happened on October 7th, 2023? More than 1,200 people were killed, 251 were abducted, and it was a shock to everyone. And of course, it ignited a war that is still raging to this day. And today, this week, there are a number of remembrances and vigils and whatnot, survivor testimonies. On Newsmax, they're playing testimonies of survivors and families of people who were killed that day. It's horrific. You have remembrances in Tel Aviv at Hostage Square. And it's just, it's something that we need to really acknowledge. And we're going to get into some of the other stuff surrounding it a little bit in a few minutes. But of course, we want to remember as I said, over 1,200 who were killed, the hostages that were taken, and the fallout attendant to that massacre. The remembrance that those of us who have a soul are dealing with, it requires action. It requires action. And there are negotiations going on right now that they're hoping will change the calculus in this situation. President Trump came up with a 20-point plan, and I have my issues with it. Let's take a look at it and see if you share my concerns with this. he came up with this 20-point plan. Gaza will be Gaza will be de-radicalized, terror-free zone that does not pose a threat to its neighbors. Okay. It will be redeveloped for the benefit of the people of Gaza who suffered more than enough. Okay, sounds good enough. If both sides agree to the proposal, the war will immediately end. Israeli forces will withdraw. Here's the thing. The people Israel are fighting against, they're Islamic terrorists. And they have a doctrine called taqiyya, which allows them to lie in order to further the cause of Islam. And they've done this before. There have been peace plans before that they've agreed to, and then almost immediately, reneged on. And I'm not going to go through all 20 points. You can check it out yourself. They have. I'm just going to come right out and say I don't buy it. I don't buy it for a second. I don't believe that they are sincere in their desire to end this conflict for a second. Their entire existence is predicated on the eradication of Israel. It's predicated on the complete wiping Israel off the map. And we're supposed to believe that now all of a sudden they're going to agree to this. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think Benjamin Netanyahu is smart enough not to buy it. But I think he's kind of, I don't want to say backed into a corner, but I think he's reading the landscape and going along with it for the time being. I think he understands that this is probably a lot of wishful thinking on President Trump's part. He thinks that because he's brokered all these peace deals, that this one is going to be no different. I think his ego is getting the better of him a little bit, and I think that he's thinking he can negotiate anything. But this has been a conflict that has been going on for thousands of years, and it's going to take more than 7 months in President Trump's name to bring an end to it. I hope he's right. I really do, but history tells us another story. And the other thing that this plan does, it doesn't explicitly call for a two-state solution, but that's effectively what it does. And a two-state solution with Israel and so-called Palestine can't work. It just can't. There's too much animosity, and there's too much of, I mean, it's in their charter. They want to wipe Israel off the map. And I don't think this peace plan is going to change that. Netanyahu and his government, they've accepted this with some caveats. National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir and Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich. I think they're behind Netanyahu, ready to pounce if this goes bad. And I think Netanyahu knows that as well. They're reporting that Hamas is split over disarmament and giving up control and all that. I don't buy that for a second. I think I think they are enacting a plan. I think that they are enacting a plan, and the culmination of that plan is going to be some devastating results if they are allowed to get away with it. But the best case scenario is that Hamas disarms, which they're not going to do. But just for the sake of argument, the best case scenario, they disarm, they bring the hostages home, and the remains of the hostages are released. The IDF pulls back, as is required by this peace plan. And the aid that has been stolen by Hamas actually flows. And the policies that are put forth in this plan actually work. I mean, that is the best case scenario. As I said, I have been around long enough. I have been watching this long enough. I have read enough about this conflict over the years to know that it's probably not going to go the way they want. If this truly is peace, every hostage needs to be accounted for. There needs to be verifiable disarmament, and all of Hamas needs to be disbanded, and that's just not going to happen. And here's the other thing: with the release of the hostages that is required by this agreement, Israel is going to be required to release 250 prisoners sentenced to a life sentence because they were convicted of terrorism in Israel. And then 1,700 more who they couldn't prove were terrorists, but are very likely terrorists, at least a good percentage of that 1,700. So Israel's going to get 20 hostages and the remains of 28 more. There's 48 that are still unaccounted for. And Israel is going to get back nearly 2,000. Hamas is going to get back nearly 2,000 fighters. Hardly seems fair to me. I am skeptical, to say the least. And anyone with two functioning neurons who has been paying attention to this conflict over the years should probably be just as skeptical. And if you're not, then you're either naive or just engaging in some very wishful thinking. I hope and I pray that this actually is, that this actually does lead to peace. But as I said, I'm skeptical. And if the captives don't come home, the remains don't come home, and there's no verifiable disarmament on the part of Hamas, then it's not really a deal. It's a press release. That means absolutely nothing. And I think I've made clear where I come down on it. All right, let's take a look at some of these chats here. BZ says he's first, although somehow I don't think that's quite true. But we'll give it to him anyway. And of course, B, the queen bee is always first. That's right. That is right. Sackhead Sean says, it's different this time. They turned over a new leaf. They're born anew. No, wait. That's not them. I was watching the wrong group. Yeah, that's true. I don't think that this is Sackhead Sean again. I don't think there's anything more. There may be a degree of hope, but showing the world that they are trying to work with Hamas animals and giving them an out. Yeah, agreed. But I think that's going to come around to bite everyone. BZ, why do Western civilizations keep hitting themselves in the head with regard to Islam, thinking Islam will... Agreed. I know, BZ. And I have another story that I just came across as I was getting ready to go on. So I'm going to talk about that a little later, but it does relate to Islam. All right. Thank you all for being in chat. I appreciate it. I want to move on to the shutdown nonsense that's still going on. We are in day 7 of this shutdown, and the clowns are still running the circus. I know, I know. Hard to believe, but it's true. And the Democrats, the left, they're saying that Republicans are holding the government hostage, but the ransom note has their signature on it. They want $1.5 trillion in new spending and expanded health care for illegal aliens. Because I guess if you cross the border illegally, the least we can do is pay your copay, right? Cover your health care costs. Seems legit. The Republicans, they passed a clean CR, but the Democrats' counterproposal, and we've talked about this before, they want, like I said, $1.5 trillion in new spending. And they want to restore tax credits for illegal aliens, reimburse emergency health care for emergency care for illegal aliens. And I want to take a look at there's a lot to get to, but I want to play this clip of Senator Kennedy, and he is always good. It's a fairly long clip, but I just want to play a little bit of it because Senator Kennedy is always good. Is always good for a good soundbite. Check this out.
Basically, President Trump just said, we want you to take some stuff out of the budget that we think is wasteful. And we did. And that upset the Congresswoman. She's entitled to be upset if she wants to. But that really upset the socialist wing of the party. And so we took out, and here's what they want us to put back in. We found that under President Biden, they were spending $3 million for circumcisions and vasectomies in Zambia. We took that out. The Congresswoman says, we're going to shut down government until you put that back in. We found $500,000 of American taxpayer money for electric buses in Rwanda. We found
electric buses in Rwanda. Why?
$3.6 million for pastry cooking classes and dance focus groups for male prostitutes in Haiti.
What? Why are we contributing anything to prostitutes of any gender in any country? Can somebody explain that to me? And this is what they want to put back in to the CR so that they can reopen the government.
I kid you not. I'm not making this up. It was in the budget under President Biden. We took it out. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez in the socialist wing, the loon wing of the Democratic Party, says we're going to shut down government until you put it back in. I'll just read you a few more that we took out. They are demanding we put back in. $6 million for media organizations for the Palestinians. $833,000 for transgender people in Nepal.
It goes on. There's no need to continue that, but just why do they think Americans want to pay for any of that when we're nearly $40 trillion in debt as it is? And the interest on that debt is $1 trillion a year. That is unsustainable. It's unsustainable. And there's going to be a reckoning. But that's a story for another time. They want to shut down the government, not to fix what's broken, but to fund it for everyone except American citizens. Sackhead Sean, I will go and pretend to be a trans in Nepal if they want to write a check. Oh, I can only imagine what's required. These people are insane. And the fact that they want to spend all of our money on everything but Americans is demonic. Yeah, I said that, and I mean it. Now, when conservatives, Republicans talk about all of the things that the Democrats want to put in this bill, they say that it's a lie. Hakeem Jeffries has said repeatedly, it's a lie. But we have receipts. You know what? Before we get into that, let's I want to play something here because I mentioned Hakeem Jeffries, and when the American Pravda, when the American media maggots, as BZ calls them, are calling out the left, you know something's wrong. You know something's wrong. And here is NBC calling out Hakeem Jeffries.
Hundreds of thousands of workers are being held hostage. What's changed from then to now?
Well, actually, Donald Trump is the president. Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They could reopen the government if they chose to. The reality is...
Well, they would have to change the...
And I can't believe that this NBC anchor is about to point out the obvious, but they need 60 votes, so they can't.
To change the rules, to be
Well, that's
fair.
correct.
This is what you said at the time.
Well, that's correct. Jeffries is absolutely useless. He is terrible at this. He is absolutely terrible at this. But here's a little bit more of Hakeem Jeffries getting spanked on live TV by another NBC anchor. Check this out.
Fighting for.
But let me ask you, because you say this is a Republican shutdown, but it's Democratic senators who are withholding their votes on what is called a clean resolution. That means no strings attached, which is something, quite frankly, Leader, that you and other Democrats have advocated for in the past. Take a look.
You do not use the threat of shutting down government to try to advance your policy agenda.
First thing that the House has to do is pass a clean 6-week CR.
A continuing resolution that is at the fiscal year 2023 levels is the only way forward.
Why not fund the government and debate extending Obamacare tax credits after the fact? They don't expire till the end of the year.
Well, what we've called for is a bipartisan negotiation where Democrats and Republicans can sit down in good faith, reopen the government, pass a spending bill that actually improves the quality of life of the American people in an environment where the cost of living is already too high. Republicans promised to lower costs on day one. Costs aren't going down, they're going up. And if these Affordable Care Act tax credits are allowed to expire, premiums and healthcare costs are going to skyrocket. And America is already too expensive for the American people because of the Trump failed policies, the Trump tariffs, and this will make things worse. So we just want a bipartisan negotiation that addresses the healthcare crisis at the same period of time.
The healthcare crisis, so-called, for illegal aliens. The healthcare crisis for American citizens was created by the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare. Sackhead Sean, free shipping on politicians from Temu if you act now. Because I call Hakeem Jeffries Temu Obama. This, oh my goodness. And so the issue is they say that we're lying about they say that we're lying about illegal aliens getting health care. They say that it's always been illegal, that illegal aliens are not eligible for Medicare, Medicaid. Well, that's true. Technically, it is illegal, but it's never been enforced. The enforcement of it is weak. And so if the laws were actually enforced, which is what the weakness of the left on so many other issues, if the law was actually enforced, then they might have a point. But they don't. Conservatives, excuse me, point to the looseness of the state verification, the 1 million plus ineligible enrollees that are already on Medicaid. When they try to say that we're giving these false statements, what they really mean is that it's true, but it's just inconvenient and doesn't fall in line with our narrative. So we're just going to say it's a lie. Everything about this is, excuse me, everything about this is complete and utter nonsense. It's about the priorities of these people. And their priorities are everyone but Americans. Their priorities are themselves and their power and their money. And then it's about everyone else other than Americans. Families can't afford food in a lot of cases. Veterans wait months for care at the VA, and Washington is steady trying to expand care for illegal aliens. If Washington spent half as much time protecting illegal aliens and non-citizens of this country as it does protecting the lawbreakers, America would be in such a much better place than it is right now. And that's despite all of the efforts of President Trump and everything that he's doing and doing well. Just imagine if they actually cared about Americans. It's ridiculous. Democrats say that they're shutting down the government for compassionate reasons. They're shutting it down for control. Everything that they do is about gaining more and more control, gaining more and more power. And conservatives are finally, Republicans in government are finally playing by the left's rules. They're finally stepping up and saying enough is enough. And the left doesn't like that. They cannot stand when their own tactics get used against them. The swamp rats in Washington keep calling it a shutdown. But what we really need on so many levels is a reset. And restoring some fiscal responsibility. I talked about the debt. Kicking $40 trillion in the booty right now. And that is, as I said, completely unsustainable. Eventually, that debt is going to come due. And if they don't get this under control now, that is going to be a disaster. And so I'm thankful that we finally have some Republicans up there who are at least attempting. I'm not sure how successful they'll be in the long run, but at least on this front right now, they're at least attempting to get it under control. And so for that, I'm thankful. Care about Americans? This is Sackhead Sean. I mean, we do care about the overtaxed dollars they give us in order to run our special programs. Not probably, definitely. Jersey Joe's in the chat. Phantom's in the chat. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. Up to 637 subscribers. That's awesome. It was 635 last time I looked last night, but we're getting up there. So thank you all very much. The chat is lively today. I love it. Love it. Oh boy. All right. I want to get a word in from our sponsor for today before we move on. There is so much I wanted to talk about, and I'm actually moving through it a lot quicker than I thought I might. But we'll see what happens with these next few segments. But I mean, there's just been so much to talk about. I don't know, but we'll see. But anyway, let's get a word in from our sponsor. And our sponsor for today's show is Patriot Mobile. And now more than ever, your vote just is not enough. You need to make sure that your resources, your dollars go to companies that actually fight for what you believe in. And that's why we switched to Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They don't just talk about values, they back up that talk. A portion of every dollar that they take in goes to pro-life, pro-family, and pro-freedom organizations. So right now, you can get a free month of service when you go to patriotmobile.com and use promo code Jackson, or call 972-PATRIOT and use promo code Jackson. I just got a new phone, and I have to tell you, the customer service over there is amazing. They speak English. Imagine that. The last provider we had, it was like pulling teeth trying to get anything done through customer service. But Patriot Mobile's customer service is outstanding. So go to patriotmobile.com, use promo code Jackson, or call 972-PATRIOT and use promo code Jackson. Defend freedom with every call, every text, every month. Switch to patriotmobile.com today. All right, y'all. I am Big E, and you are watching or listening to the Mission Ready Men briefing on the SHR Media Network, where you can catch my good friend Sackhead Sean, who's in the chat, with the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Wednesday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. The Reaver of Common Sense with Jersey Joe every Monday and Friday. He made his triumphant return last night. It was good to have you back, Joe. Every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific. And BZ with the Berserk Bobcat Saloon every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific. Please be sure to like and subscribe to all of those great shows, and pray that we have a huge breakthrough. We're at 637 subscribers. That is amazing. I remember struggling to get to, I don't even remember, 200, 300, when we finally got to 500. That now everything is moving right along. We're cooking with gas now. So thank you all very much for sharing and subscribing. And we want to have a huge breakthrough and reach as many people as we possibly can. All right, now back to our regularly scheduled programming. And I want to talk about something that doesn't get a lot of attention, at least not in the American Pravda. It doesn't get mentioned a lot. You'll see it in certain circles, in certain corners of the internet, on X and Facebook, and some of the other less popular platforms. But there is a genocide going on, and I'm not talking about Gaza. I'm talking about Nigeria. Back in 2018, Gatestone warned that thousands of Nigerian Christians were being slaughtered, and it went largely unnoticed. Nigeria, this was back in March of 2018. Nigerians Christians today, Europe's Christians tomorrow. Well, it's tomorrow, and Europe is being overrun. The UK has fallen, and most of the other Western European countries are not far behind. But they issued this warning, and nobody seemed to really care. And now in 2025, it's only gotten worse. It's only gotten worse. Over 100,000 Christians have been slaughtered since 2009. 7,000 in this year alone, and this year is not over. This was just calculated up to the midpoint of this year. And the international community, hasn't figured out how to do anything about it. In June of this year, in Benue, up to 200 Christians were massacred in one night. In Plateau State, over 120 were killed in coordinated attacks by the Fulani militia. In Zike, back in April of this year, 40 were murdered, most of them elderly people and children. And on Palm Sunday, which actually did get more coverage than I expected it to, 56 were slaughtered while worshiping. In 2022, the Owo Catholic Church, 50 were killed. And just recently, 5 suspects were arraigned 3 years later. It's horrific what's going on over there. And what we know is what they're actually allowing us to know. Who knows how bad it really is over there? And I mentioned the Fulani militants, Boko Haram, their splinter group, the Islamic State, West Africa province. All of these are Muslim Islamic terror groups. And the government is just covering it up, excusing it, saying it's a farmer-herder conflict, saying it's land disputes, criminality, everything but what it actually is. And they want to pretend that it's anything but religious persecution because they want to keep their international contracts flowing for oil and other things. And in case you thought that Islam is just some misunderstood religion, if you listen to me, you know that that's not true. But just in case you're new here, Islam is completely incompatible with everything that Western civilization stands for. And if you think I'm exaggerating, check this out. A Spanish priest found guilty of a hate crime after criticizing Muslim persecution of Christians. In February, Father Custodio Ballester was summoned to a regional court in Spain to respond to charges he had committed a hate crime for calling attention to the unjust treatment of Christians in Islamic majority countries. He wrote his essay titled, well, it doesn't say what the title is. This is what he was responding to. Ballester wrote, "The new reactivation of Christian-Muslim dialogue, paralyzed by the alleged imprudences on the part of the late Pope Benedict XVI, is very far from becoming a reality. Islam does not allow dialogue. For Islam, either you believe or you are an infidel who must be subdued one way or another." And this isn't just Europe. My dad had a Twitter account years ago where he basically said the exact same thing. And they banned, this was obviously before Musk bought it, and they banned him. They told him he could have his account back if he just recanted that statement. And if you know my dad, you know that that just was not going to happen because he spoke the truth. And it wasn't until Elon Musk took over and he ran for president that he was able to get it back. But anyway, that's a side note. But the fact is, Islam is, as I said, completely incompatible with everything that Western civilization stands for. And the Nigerian government, who are allegedly run by Christians, by the way, they're just turning a blind eye to this. And in fact, one of their ministers, I'm not going to play the clip, but Bill Maher, he said that he posed the question, where are all the protests for the massacres in Nigeria? And he called it a genocide. And this guy, Gimba Kakanda, who is senior special assistant to the president of Nigeria on research and analytics in the office of the vice president, said, no, Bill Maher, there is no Christian genocide in Nigeria. The facts on the ground say otherwise. And I'm not even going to get into what his nonsense, but this is what we're up against when it comes to these religious persecutions. Christianity is the most persecuted religion, for lack of a better word, in the world. In the world. And there are people who are trying to speak up. Senator Cruz actually proposed legislation called the Nigeria Religious Freedom Accountability Act, which calls for severe sanctions on the government of Nigeria, as long as they keep allowing this genocide to continue. Now, I am not for military intervention. I am not for boots on the ground to intervene in this conflict by any means. Let me get rid of this. But that's not to say we can't intervene diplomatically. President Trump has made it his mission in his second term to pursue peace. So I think if he's bent on getting peace in the Middle East, then he needs to turn his attention to what's happening in Nigeria and send some special envoys over there and try and quell this conflict, this genocide. And so should the other countries, the European countries over there, who claim to be, well, I don't know if they claim to be Christian, frankly, and a lot of them are being overrun by Muslims. So I think they're running out of time to intervene in that regard. So, but something's got to be done. And again, like I said, I'm not trying to. I don't want to send our military over there to deal with it. But something needs to be done. The international community needs to do something. And that may be wishful thinking on my part, because we know how much most of the international community hates Christians. So I don't know. But the numbers are staggering. This is not an exaggeration for to be dramatic in any way. I mean, in 2018, 6,000 Christians were killed in the first half of the year. In 2025, this year, over 7,000 have been killed. And we don't know what that number is going to be like when the year is finally over. This is much more of a genocide than anything, as Bill Maher said, much more of a genocide than anything happening in Gaza right now. Far and away, more of a genocide than anything happening between Israel and the Palestinians. Nigeria, the government, that guy that whose article I showed you said that calling it a genocide oversimplifies the issue. And some of the excuses that they come up with say that it's about climate change. Climate change, really. And then I mentioned criminality, I mentioned land rights. But climate change, really? They will blame anything and everything on climate change, it seems like. When I first read that, I couldn't believe that was what they were going with. Climate. These people are absolutely ridiculous. The Nigerian government, the people in charge over there, claim that people who are calling this a genocide are mischaracterizing Nigeria's internal dynamics and struggles. Meanwhile, Boko Haram and the Fulani militia are busy mischaracterizing Christians with AK-47s. It's utterly ridiculous and sad, and we need to call attention to it. Something needs to be done. And again, I just want to make sure that I make this clear, perfectly clear. I am not saying to send our military over there to liberate the Christians, wipe out Boko Haram, the Fulani militia. That's not what I'm saying. That's going to be on, militarily, that's going to be on Nigeria's government to do that, if they're so inclined, which doesn't seem like they are. But we need to pray for those Christians over there, that something happens that brings an end to this genocide. The blood of Nigerian Christians has soaked the ground in Nigeria for years. And all they can do is say that it's a complex issue. They say silence equals consent. The world's silence is basically co-signing another genocide. All right, let's see what's going on in chat. James Harbin says, when good men don't speak up, eventually it will come to you. It's coming your way. London, Islamic mayor, New York, communist Muslim coming. Yeah, and if I have time, I'm going to get to Mamdani. He's utterly ridiculous. Let's see what else we got going on in chat. Wow, I'm I'm way behind. I guess BZ was caught in a loop of some kind. Alrighty then. Imagine that, a huge percentile of global problems circling back to Islam. Who could possibly have foreseen that? Well, you and I have, BZ. We've been talking about it for a long time. I know how much you just absolutely love the muzzies, to use your term. It's funny every time. Yes, I know. I'm slacking on the chat. My apologies. But anyway, I want to talk about something else because I have a little bit more than half an hour left, and this one, there's a couple I want to get to, and I'm going to try and motor through this. Virginia Attorney General candidate Jay Jones. He is under fire right now. Interesting choice of words I just used there, but I'll go with it. In August of 2022, he sent some texts to GOP delegate Carrie Coiner. And something that occurred to me, it's like, he's married. What is he sending these personal texts to another woman for? I don't know. Anyway, there's that. But let's take a look at some of these texts because they were made public. And the fact that now that they're out, this is completely disqualifying for this guy. Let's take a look at these texts. Here he is. He's talking to as I said, Carrie Coiner. And he's trying to say that he's trying to understand the Republican mindset. And she calls him out for talking about hoping that Jennifer Gilbert's children die. Jennifer Gilbert is the wife of Todd Gilbert, who is the I don't know if he still is actually, but he was he was the leader of the House of Delegates over in Virginia. And he said, she told him that she was concerned that he was hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. And he said, yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. This guy is sick and doesn't belong anywhere near the levers of power in Virginia or anywhere else. I mean, this is demonic stuff we're talking about here. He says, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil and that they're breeding little fascists? Yes. Wow. And he goes on. There's another text where he says, he's talking about if somebody dies before him, Republicans, he would go to their funerals and piss on their graves and send them out awash in something. And then he says there's 3 people, 2 bullets, Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time. And Carrie Coiner is finally realizing that this guy is a lunatic. And I mean, how do you respond to that? How do you respond to that? He's expressing some remorse. He's expressing some verbally expressing some remorse, but he's not sorry. He's only sorry that he got caught. Let's be honest. He's only sorry that he got caught. And he gave an interview in Virginia on their ABC affiliate, and I want to take a look at that. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but let's take a look at this, and then you tell me what you think.
One of the text messages mentions 3 people: Todd Gilbert, the former Republican Speaker of the House; Hitler, a man who's responsible for killing 6 million Jews; and then a Cambodian dictator who's also responsible for the death of over 1 million people. You said in that scenario, quote, 2 bullets, Gilbert would get 2 bullets to the head. What were you thinking?
You know, Tyler, thank you for having me and for giving me the opportunity to apologize. And I sincerely and from the bottom of my heart want to express my remorse and my regret for what happened and what I said. That language has no place in our discourse, and I am so remorseful for what happened. I actually reached out to Speaker Gilbert this afternoon to apologize.
Does this look like the face of someone who actually regrets anything? I watched this whole interview and I did not get that at all. The words were coming out of his mouth. He was saying he was sorry. He was saying he regretted it, but it didn't seem sincere at all to me.
To him and to Jennifer and to their children, because I know that they are angry and furious, and they are well within all of their bounds to feel that way, because what I said was unacceptable, and I accept responsibility for that. And I want them to know, and I want the people of Virginia to know that I am so deeply, deeply embarrassed and that I understand the gravity of what I said, and I am so apologetic for it from the bottom of my heart.
In this election, you're asking Virginians to vote for a man who compared his political opponents to mass murderers. Isn't that type of rhetoric disqualifying for someone who's seeking statewide office here in Virginia?
Well, the rhetoric has no place on our landscape.
Yeah, you said that.
Came out today, says after those text messages were sent to Carrie Coyner, you picked up the phone and called her. You said, according to the article, I'm quoting, Gilbert's wife could watch her own child die in her arms so that Gilbert might reconsider his political views. Did you say that?
Bottom line is that the language is unacceptable. And again, I deeply, deeply, deeply wish that it hadn't happened. I have spent the entire day really...
Yeah, whatever. If you expressed the desire to see a woman watch her children die, you have forfeited your right to function in polite society. And you definitely don't belong anywhere near public office. That is utterly demonic. He issued a statement saying that he regrets the tone of his remarks. That tone sounds remarkably like gunfire. Just utterly ridiculous. I don't understand it. I don't get it at all. And he's actually getting some pushback from the left. Let's see if I have this, because this was shocking to see. Yeah, let's take a look at this.
Coming up, an attorney general candidate in Virginia is apologizing for his texts about a state lawmaker. We'll go through what the messages said.
He should probably be forced to withdraw from the race, and probably is doing a lot there.
Morning Joe saying that he needs to withdraw from the race. Now, Abigail Spanberger, the candidate for governor, Ghazala Hashmi, I'm not sure what exactly she's running for, but they haven't called for him to drop out of the race. They all still support him. Now, I heard that there was a rumor that that Spanberger had called him and urged him to drop out. Wouldn't do it publicly, but did it privately. That was actually a couple of days ago, and that it hasn't happened yet. So I was probably wrong with that. Either that, or he's just arrogant enough to say, "I don't care, and I'm going to keep running," even though it's probably hurting his hurting the left a little bit. The governor's race is tightening. Spanberger was crushing Winsome Earl Sears a while back, but she's made a few blunders that have tightened that race to, if it's not within the margin of error, it is closer than it's been. And I had almost written off Winsome Sears because she was just so far behind. But as they often do, they shoot themselves in the foot. Another interesting turn of phrase. Oh my goodness! But when you have people like Morning Joe and other leftist pundits, even though it's not coming from the political class, but the pundits are saying that he needs to go, you've pretty much lost the plot. You have lost the plot. And let's not make any bones about this. This was not some slip. This was not a slip up. The violent fantasies like that you don't just slip up and text things like that. If he had come out after one of those things and said, you know what, I let my emotions get the best of me, that's not what I meant, and had left it at that, okay. But he doubled and tripled down on it. Doubled and tripled down. And he's also, I found this out after looking into this, he's also one of the people responsible for getting a police lieutenant fired for donating $25 to Kyle Rittenhouse back in the day. Yeah. He got that lieutenant fired. Like I said, this guy belongs nowhere near power. But this is a pattern of the left. Let's just go back just a little bit. Chuck Schumer threatening Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, told them that they wouldn't know what hit them. Madonna thought about blowing up the White House. Johnny Depp, when was the last time an actor assassinated a president? Maxine Waters, get in their faces. The baseball field shooting in 2017, the Bernie bro who shot Steve Scalise, nearly killing him. Assassination attempt on Kavanaugh, probably as a result of Schumer's words and all the other inflammatory rhetoric that the left has used against conservatives. The assassination attempts on President Trump, one as a candidate and the other when he was president. And of course, most famously, Charlie Kirk's murder. Words have consequences. And the left's words, their consequences come with a body count. I can't believe this guy hasn't dropped. Well, I shouldn't say that. I can believe it because Leftists are just that arrogant to believe that they can't be touched. These people are sick and twisted, and he needs to go. He needs to resign. Not resign. He needs to drop out of the race. And think about this. Think about this for a second. If a conservative, if a Republican had said anything close to that, if Republican had texted that to somebody and it came out, which you know it would, or if they put it out on social media, that person would be swatted and canceled and drummed out of polite society like that, and you know it. But when the person has a D in front of their name, well, it's a non-story, apparently. Now, in this case, it's blown up a little bit, but he's still in the race, so we'll see how that goes. They've been telling us for a long time that words are violence, but their words are promoting the violence. They say that us saying that men don't belong in women's sports is violence. But telling someone that your political rival gets 2 bullets to the head every time, that's free speech or something. These people are, they need Jesus is what they need, because nothing we say is going to convince them that what they're doing is completely and utterly evil and insane. So we'll see how that goes. BZ says, but silence is violence. I guess you can't win with speech. Well, they don't even want to try, as evidenced by the murder of Charlie Kirk. James Harbin says that would be BS too. He only cares he got caught, and he still doesn't care. He wants the top job to destroy America. Well, yeah. These people are all about their ambition. And for the longest time, anything that they ever say doesn't mean anything because they get away with it. Anything that they say, most of what they do, they get away with it. And so they think that they can just act with impunity, speak whatever evil they want to, and it's all going to be fine because they're going to, the American Pravda is going to run cover for them. It's these people. These people are yeah, they're an abomination. Period. No other way to put it. Speaking of abominations, you got about 15 minutes left, I think. I had something else I wanted to get to, but we might have to save that for another time because I really want to get to this because this was I couldn't believe when I saw this. A man broke into a family's house in Kentucky, stabbed a 6-year-old boy to death, attacked his sisters who tried to stop him, attacked his father, and 8 years later, the perpetrator is out of prison. Supervised, allegedly, because that's reassuring. I'm talking about a killer by the name of Ronald Exantis. In 2015, he killed Logan Tipton, age 6, in a home invasion in Versailles, Kentucky. He was found not guilty by reason of insanity for the killing, but guilty but mentally ill on 2 counts of second-degree assault and 1 count of fourth-degree assault. Sentenced to 20 years in 2018 and released just this month under mandatory reentry supervision. What does that mean? It's a ridiculous technicality in Kentucky law, KRS 439.3406. Even if parole is denied, as was in this case, the state must release inmates 6 months before their sentence ends. But his sentence ends in 2026, not 2038 as it should have been. They counted good time and some sort of fuzzy math to get him released early. Yeah, utterly ridiculous. So when the justice system can't count, killers get to walk free. Killers who were deemed mentally insane, and now he's going to walk the streets. Now, he was released, I think, to Florida, but the father who lost his son in this horrific crime said that he would, if he saw this guy, he would kill him. And again, I'm not advocating violence, but I would completely understand. It reminds me of the guy in Louisiana who shot and killed the man who killed his son. And I talked about that before. You can look that up. He was in an airport being brought to town by the U.S. Marshals, I believe, and blew him away. I didn't blame him for that either. But let's take a look at this, because this was an interview that he did, that the father did, or that the family did, when they found out that he had been, the guy who tore their family apart had been released.
He stood up with me on top of him, just stood up and threw me 10, 15 feet across the room and went after her.
Dean Tipton says December 7th, 2015 is a night that changed his life. He says his children woke him up. He then found a man attacking his children.
And when I got to the top of the stairs, he attacked me. He come at me with the knife.
The night took a tragic turn with the loss of a life, his 6-year-old son, Logan. Dean says immediately after Logan's death, he lost his will to live.
I laid in bed. I gave up. I gave up on life. I gave up on my family. I gave up on everybody. I just wanted to die.
In the years since, the family has done their best to cope, but mentions they are mentally and emotionally scarred. And they are hurt that Ronald Exantis will no longer be behind bars.
Everybody deserves a fighting chance to have justice for them, and it's not.
I've had my talks with God, because I'm not afraid to tell you all. I told the court, if I ever cross paths with him, I will kill the man. I will kill him where he stands.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him one bit. I mean, I do not understand how this guy is out. He was deemed mentally unfit. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia, I believe, allegedly. How, I can't wrap my mind around what legal wrangling they came up with to allow this guy to walk the streets. And yeah, they say it's supervised, but so what? So what? The way he killed that little boy, and stabbed the other family members, he belongs in prison. He belongs in prison. But here's where I think the issue is. Imagine if the family had been black and the killer had been white. Imagine that. There would have been marches in the streets. They would have been saying that this guy was a racist and he deserved to die. But the killer's black. It was a mental issue, so he deserves compassion or something. Irina Zarutska, killed by a black male suspect. Logan Federico, who I mentioned before as well, murdered in her own home by a black intruder. And I mean, you could go down the list. You could go down the list of these guys who have been released, had all kinds of lenient sentences and bail and just you can just go down the list. It's insane. This was just another mental health tragedy. But as I said, if it had been the other way around, the judges and prosecutors would have brought the hammer down. You know it, and I know it. And the only reason we're hearing about this now is because the family is speaking out. And because it's so egregious. We've turned mercy into a mockery. The state is supposed to bear the sword to protect the innocent, not pat the killers on the head or on the shoulders as if they were being knighted. The White House issued a statement saying they're looking into it. I don't think it needs to go that far. I mean, yeah, they should be aware of it, but I don't think they need to intervene. I don't think well, I don't know. If they can, if I'll have to think about that. I'm not sure. Because, I mean, it is a state issue. And the feds are already getting involved in places where it's warranted. I believe it's warranted, but I don't know that this rises to that level yet. So I'll just leave that there for that. But the thing is, this is not compassion. It's cowardice. It's complete cowardice. They fear the headlines. They fear blowback more than they fear God and more than they fear the citizens. And make no mistake, these elected officials should fear the citizens, not for their safety or anything like that, but for their political future. They should operate with the idea that if I don't do what the citizens want, I will lose this seat. I will lose my power and authority. That's how it should be. But they don't operate in that fear. They don't operate in that fear, and they really need to. Every time the system coddles a killer like this, another family pays the price. Another family realizes that justice for all doesn't mean for them. And justice without any accountability, like we're seeing here, is surrender. All right, before we get out of here, let's take a look at some of these chats. Me being harsh and judgmental, come on. Not at all. Yeah, there would be riots all across the country. You're right, BZ. Yeah, BZ's dog is having a seizure. So yes, BZ, thanks for being here. Go take care of the pup. He is more important. Absolutely. All right, y'all. That's all I got for you. I had a few more stories I wanted to get to, but that's all I got for you this time. I will try to keep making each show better than the last. If any of what I said hits home for you, please take a second to like and subscribe and share this show with everyone that you know. We're not just here to opine. We're not just here to voice our opinion. We're here to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and carry the banner of faith, freedom, and hope for the future generations. And if you want some cool gear, head over to missionreadymen.com. Click Shop 7 Armors. Check out all the great designs that we have over there about bold faith, true grit, and unapologetic patriotism. And as always, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.